Greetings. My name is Mikal, and I want to share with you about pressure today. It's a term that I've come to use a lot in recent times, and now it shows up here on managing the pressure cooker of business and life as a title for the work I'm doing, as a title for workshops I'm giving, and it's also the name of a circle on Genius U that I have recently created. And if you're not familiar with Genius U, and that I'll put a link in below how you can access that circle, which really is a group about how to manage this pressure or this pressure cooker that life is and that business is. So I've been asked the question of what do I mean by pressure? So that's what this video is about. I want to explain what I mean by it. So for me, first of all, pressure is given. It's just a fact of life, and there is nothing we can do about it. And in my experience, many people seem to spend a lot of energy in trying to avoid pressure. And that really is mostly a waste of time. What is far more valuable is learning to manage the pressure that is already there in a much better way. And then in time, starting to choose the kind of pressures you want rather than letting the pressures that arrive in your life control your life. So let's start with have a look at what I mean by pressure and the three places in our being where we experience this pressure. So again, pressure is not right or wrong or good or bad. It just is pressure. And it's what we do with it that determines the outcome that we're going to get and how we're going to be feeling about it and the results that we're going to create. So the first level of pressure is physical pressure. So we all experience that all the time. Gravity is a pressure. So if you're standing or sitting, you will feel a pressure on your feet or on your bum or leaning against something on your back. So gravity itself is pressure. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is the way it is. As a human being in a physical form with bones and flesh and all of that, you will experience that pressure. In general, we don't worry about that because we're so used to it. But if you stop for a moment right now, and just notice where is the pressure in your body that is showing you or indicating to you that you are under the influence of gravity. And unless you're floating right now, you will be feeling that. So just notice that pressure. It's just a sensation. Other typical sensations that we get in our body are things like a pressure on the bladder. That's an indication to head towards a toilet soonish. And it's a pressure that's quite cleverly made because if you don't head to the toilet soonish, the pressure just keeps increasing to the point of it gets really, really uncomfortable if you don't do something about it. So that's a natural pressure. Pressure in the guts or the tummy that goes, okay, it's time to eat some food, or thirst, and so on. A headache is also a pressure. It's an indication from the body that, okay, there's something going on here. And then again, you choose whether you act according to that pressure that you're experiencing in our body. And we will have a much healthier society if we actually started listening more closely to the pressures that the body is giving us that indicates that there is something out of balance here. And the body's kind of saying, please do something about it. But if we're too busy rushing around and doing things and running our businesses, we don't pay attention. And then typically we will end up hitting a wall somewhere along the way, which is a much bigger pressure that is going to be much harder to deal with than if we just deal with those pressures that are there now. So there is this cacophony of pressures that ends up in this pressure cooker with all these pressures that are there. The next level of pressure is emotional pressure. So when you're feeling anxious, worried, irritated, stressed, depressed, you will have a physical pressure in your body. Feel into that pressure and be aware of that pressure. And you are far better off focusing your consciousness and your awareness on the actual physical pressure than the interpretation and the loop you got yourself in where you're worrying or being irritated. Because focusing on that mentally is not likely to get you very far, because it's going to come back again tomorrow or next week or next month, on and on and on. So to manage and work with that pressure in a constructive way, we're better off feeling into the actual pressure of it, not the thought of it, not the thought process of it, but the actual pressure that is there. So again, managing the pressure, not about getting rid of the pressure. And in that process, we learn and we grow. Joy, happiness, excitement. You will notice that that also has a pressure. So if you're feeling any sense of gratitude or joy at the moment, just notice, where are you feeling that? Because if you tell me or anyone that I'm feeling joyful or I'm excited, there has to be a pressure in your body. It just happens to be so that that pressure is enjoyable. So we are fine with it. We're not trying to avoid that. We might go, it's going, or I want to make sure this stays, or I want more of this, which then creates another level of pressure. But the pressure itself from that emotion, in and of itself, in general, we don't see as a problem because it feels good. Whereas the pressures of emotions that don't feel good, we tend to want to avoid and move away from. Nevertheless, it is all pressures. Again, it's not right, it's not wrong. It is, for me, more about allowing ourselves to really feel that. So if you're feeling joy, if you go inside the pressure that it is creating your body and breathe into that, you can then expand that throughout your being, and suddenly you're feeling even more joy. And the other way around with pressures that are, say, a sadness, again, you can go into that and you can move through that by focusing in on it and allowing it to be the way it is. So that's the second part, the level of pressure, which is still physical. All pressures are physical, even the third one. But it's different from the actual, what we call the physical pressure of needing to go to the toilet. Now we add that into the pressure cooker, and we now have a lot of things going on in there. The next level, which for me is the most exciting one, and we can give it a couple of different names, so it shows up in a number of different ways, and you will have your own interpretation of that. So at one level, we can call it energy pressure or spiritual pressure. So our being is made up of energy. So we are vibration, and not just the vibration of skin and bone, but also energetic vibrations of the meridians running through us and our energy centers, our chakras. So we may feel really good physical, and when the bladder says toilet, we go to the toilet. We may emotionally feel really good, and life is good. And those two are quite like, they're present, like we really know when they're there. The next level, the energy pressures, are much more subtle and much more difficult to detect. And for a person who lives very much in stress or physical pain, it's more difficult to feel those. But if you don't have much of those other ones, you've got a really happy, cruisy life and a successful life in that sense, then you are more likely to be able to move into this third level and feel. So it may be that one of your chakras is partly blocked and energy is not flowing through it. So there's not this beautiful free flow of energy. And And it takes a subtleness to be able to feel that and feel into that pressure, and then through that allowing that to open up, whether you do it on your own, or whether you have somebody helping you with seeing where those blockages may be and giving you tools and how to work with that. So that is also a pressure that is impacting our lives, but is a much more subtle one. Also, the pressures of energies that are flowing freely. There's an incredible joy or bliss kind of in that place, and feeling into that bliss, which is also a pressure, but an enjoyable one, is also really, really valuable. Going into states of meditation, deep meditation, and feeling that magic of the free flow of energy within us. And the other word I used was spiritual. So I will often have people come to me who having a really successful life. They're happy with things in their life. Things are going well. There's money in the bank. They might have retired. And then they go, but there's something missing. There's more to life than this. There got to be more to life than this. And that is also a pressure. And that's a pressure that I will call a spiritual pressure. A pressure that, again, is really subtle. But if you start focusing on it, you're going to find that it's very, very intense. And one way of putting it, it's like it's our soul is just like it just wants to bubble over, and it wants to spread its wings and it want to fly. And we may not allow it to do so because we're caught up in all these things that we are doing. So that pressure is, again, a subtle indication that there's something that we're holding back and suppressing. So feeling into and connecting with that pressure, and then allowing those wings to unfold. And I don't think you're going to end up flying physically, because gravity will take care of that. But spiritually, you can soar and have that feeling of So I hope this helps in terms of understanding the pressure. So we have all these three, and we put all that into the pressure cooker. And there's a lot there, which is why I call it the pressure cooker. There's nothing wrong with that. Pressure cookers are fine. It's just we need to let off some of that steam from time to time when it gets too much. And that's basically what my work is about, is helping people understand these pressures, become more conscious about what it is that is happening within us at all these different levels, and then give people tools to manage that. So again, go onto my website. There are tools available there, books, and come onto my circle, Managing the Pressure Cooker on Genius U, where I will be posting, or am posting, videos, articles, and information and value on how to deal with these pressures. And you can come there and also share where you're at and things that you want help with, and I might be able to help you with that, whether in that forum or even one-on-one if you want some personal coaching and some help with some of this more directly. I'm happy to do that. So just get in touch with me if that's of interest to you. So thank you so much for watching and for listening, and I hope to catch you somewhere in the near future.